The deep black GM turn 1. We're going to develop the factions here and give them assets. If you're watching on YouTube, this should be broken up from the GM prep episode 1, but I'm doing it all at once. So you can watch it all together or you can watch it separately. So let's find the factions chapter. If you are reading your Stars Without Numbers free core edition book, which you can find at drivethroughrpg.com by searching for Stars Without Numbers free edition, we are going to start by defining factions. So let's see here. Factions have a hit point, they have a force rating, they have the 3 ratings, they have wealth, we've got all that. We got a faction turn. We need to build a faction. Where's the building a faction thing? Rep. Alright. Somewhere in here it's going to tell me which factions get how much. Back, blah, blah, blah. Uh-oh. I'm lost. Hopefully someone's reading along with me. Buying faction assets. Only have one base of influence on a world at a time. Nope, that's not it. Every faction has a homeworld. Alright, let's start by defining homeworlds. Federal Society. Uh-oh. I just closed the thing that I need to do that. Federal Society is on planet Bannon. So homeworld is Bannon. Relationship with the players is allied because they are the players' bosses. Let's figure out tags for that particular faction. They definitely are planetary government. That's got to be a thing. Planetary government. And they're the planetary government for multiple planets. So we need to insert the row below. This is going to be a regional hegemon, so it gets 2 tags. Planetary government tag applies to any faction that is also a planetary government. So, might as well throw a lot of these up here because a lot of these places are planetary governments. Insert row below. Row below. This is planetary government, planetary government, planetary government. That is not a planetary government. And planet. Boom. Got it. Okay. And Thorn Thistle's going to have 2 because it's going to be a major. So row below. Okay. So we know that somewhere in the coalition there's a... Well, let's get started here. Eugenics cult. That is in Thorn Thistle's area. So that's a thing. I believe that the AI is also Machiavellian, but let's see if there's anything AI based. Oh, Exchange Consulate? Yup, that's happening. They get Exchange Consulate. That's a thing. That applies perfectly to them. Rusina Outreach Command is definitely a mercenary group. I'll go over what all these tags do in a minute. I am getting slightly ahead of myself. So these guys are warlike. And they have technical expertise. Alright, planetary government. This faction is the legitimate government of the planet. Rebel groups and rival factions may have assets on the planet, but control of the instruments of state is firmly in this faction's hand. The faction may rule openly or may have a grasp on existing places. The effect of having this tag is that the faction's permission is required to buy or import assets marked as needing government permission. For Federal Society, they have Warlike. Warlike means that once per turn, the faction can roll an additional d10 when making a force attack. So they basically get to attack twice. Technical expertise. This faction treats all planets on which they have a base of influence as if they were at least tech level 4. They can build starship-type assets on any world with at least 10,000 occupants. This works great for Federal Society because they're spreading out and they're trying to raise everyone up to TL4 so they all join the Federal Society. We already know they're trying to go to the system that Tindaris is in and bring Tindaris and its other planet up to their level to oppose, what's the O planet? Otsana, the space, entire space people that just live in space, in bubble cities, in space, at a major shipyard. Thorn Thistle has a eugenics cult. What does that get him? Eugenics cultists can buy gene-engineered slaves assets. It's an asset requiring Force 1 with statistics of 6 hit points, 2 fat crit cost, tech level 4 with an attack of Force v Force for 1d6 damage and a counterattack. Once per turn, the eugenics cult can roll an additional d10 to attack or defend a gene-engineered slave's assets. So, yeah. This is going to be like their ground troops on all of their planets. What's Machiavellian do? Yep, Machiavellian is going to be the other Thorn Thistle thing. Alright, so I'm getting slightly ahead of myself. Very large factions get 2 or 3 tags. Small factions only get 1 tag. And any faction that is a planetary government gets a planetary government tag. So that means Exchange of Light gets only 1 tag. And theirs is obviously chosen for them. They're an exchange consulate, so they get that. Remembrance Pact is not a planetary government. It's a loose coalition of aid workers between worlds that aren't militarily aligned. So it's going to get 1 tag because it's not that big. It's kind of like a merchant group. The coalition, again, isn't that big. Their worlds don't have a lot of technology. They fight others together, but they haven't actually fought anyone. They're just in a defensive stance right now. They are the planetary government for the 4 planets they shepherd, though. Or maybe it's 5. We'll have to go back through and figure it out. So we just need 1 for the Powers Institute, and it's going to be psionic in nature. So let's see. They have a Psychic Academy, so they fit Psychic Academy perfectly, which gets them... This faction can provide Psychic Mentor training at Psychics. Once per turn, the faction can force a rival faction to re-roll any d10, whether or not this faction is involved. Fantastic. I love that this is going to be the faction that screws around. Oh, what matches the Remembrance Pact? So they're kind of... They're a working together type group. Interesting. I don't really know that any of these tags match them up too well. The Plutocracy. Enterprise Wealth. Oh, Secretive. Interesting. That would be... Yeah, I like that. I think that's going to change the way I view that faction, but Secretive is pretty cool. So the Remembrance Pact, these worlds that were once the victims of Keshkai, now all have like a secret cabal forming between them, like a shadowy Illuminati that is trying to direct events to make sure that never happens again. So it's like a gentleman's agreement. If you've watched Kingsman, it's like that. It's like a gentleman's agreement between these 3 planets to like form an intelligence agency to make sure that never happens again. The world governments themselves aren't really involved in it. It's just really rich merchants. Alright, creating... Oh, here we are. It's at the end of it. Okay. Create a faction. Decide on the scale of the organizations. Many factions are restricted to a single world, blah, 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 blah. Alright, minor factions begin with a 4 in their most important attribute. Major sector powers should have a 6, and regional hegemons should have an 8. Okay, so... the Federal Society's major power is in its technology. It is a regional hegemon. The second most important tribute is a 7. Its military power is extremely important. And the third power is 3 less than their starting. So it is a 5. And as you can see, it's calculated the hit points and their income already. Okay, Thorn Thistle is also, actually, it's wealth-based. And then, of course, it has a very small military. But the important part is that it's led by that one ship. And that ship is pretty deadly. Racina Outreach Command. That's going to be a minor faction. And it's definitely a militant with wealth. But the issue is it doesn't have a lot of intelligence assets. When you don't have that many ships, and when you're a mercenary, you don't have that many friends, they don't have access to the kind of intelligence network that a world would have. You know, they basically have to pay people to get told what, what's happening. And so I think they might try to develop their cunning. You can increase your attributes. I think that's probably what they're going to try to do, is like increase their intelligence network. That'll be their goal, their overarching goal. Powers Institute is going to be a major faction, and they are cunning as motherfuckers. So they are going to start with a 6. They're going to have a 5 wealth from all of that money they make. Remember, they're the only people with tech level 3 ships on a wide range. I mean, there are probably maybe a dozen drive level 3 ships out there that aren't under the Powers Institute control. Most things are going to be drive level 2 or less. And that would mean 3 force. Exchange of Light is going to be wealth-based, with little or no military. The Coalition, I think it wants to be force-based, but it's really intelligence-based, right? Because they're secretive. Oh no, that's the Remembrance Pact. Did I mess that up? Yeah, I did. These guys are secretive. Let's figure out what the Coalition's tag might be. Well, I'm kind of... We know there's pirates in the area. They're led by the warlords, so maybe they're savage. Yeah. The planet that made them is savage. I think they want to pretend to be force-based, but they're not. And they're actually going to be a minor faction. So they're going to be 4, 3, and 1 wealth. Their worlds are poor. The Remembrance Pact is definitely 4, 3, and little to no force to show for it. That's not part of their mission. Okay, let's talk about homeworlds. Thorn Thistle's homeworld is... Uh-oh, did I close my... Better open it back up so I don't get lost. Okay, Thorn Thistle's homeworld is Eshipolos. Racina Outreach Command's homeworld is Rusina. Powers Institute's homeworld is Mark. Exchange of Light is based out of Salson. I think it's Anjali. Yep. Anjali. Confederation is based out of the Warlord World. Fortunately. Remember which one that was. Sorotama. And the Remembrance Pact is based out of Kashkai. Okay, let's talk about goals. Goals. Those are assets. Nope. Alright, so these factions have abilities, they have assets, which we'll get to, and they have goals. We've already got a pretty good idea of what these factions want to do, so the goal shouldn't be that hard. I think the Federal Society wants military conquest, perhaps, but Oh, planetary seizure. Yeah, I think they expand influence. Actually, that's really cool. Yep, expand influence. So, what do they need to do this? For to note, expand influence is plant a base of influence on a new planet. Difficulty 1 plus 1 if contested by a rival faction. So their thought right now is definitely to expand influence into one of the planets of the Herodotus system. Their whole goal right now is that they want to get a foothold in the Herodotus system. So when it comes time to take the shipyards at Otsana, they have a local base of population to help them do it. Their long-term goal is to grab that shipyard and then start military conquest versus the AI. Their whole thing is to destroy the AI that they made. They cannot let that live. Thorn Thistle, I think, is probably going to be intelligence coup. They need to spread their influence around. And let's see what that does for them. Destroy a number of cunning assets of rival factions equal to your faction's cunning rating. Difficulty is half the number of assets destroyed, rounded up. Okay, so let's get the exact numbers in there. They need to destroy a number of rival assets equal to 7 assets, difficulty 3. It's going to take them a long time, but Thorn Thistle is an AI. He literally lives forever. So this is not a problem for him. And the AI is definitely hostile. Oh, that's cool. Friendly, maybe? Cool. Athena Outreach Command. None of these other groups are going to have alliances with, except the Exchange of Light is friendly with everybody. Because they're neutral. Alright. Athena Outreach Command, I think, is going to be military conquest. They're a mercenary organization. They want to destroy other things by force. It doesn't matter where, it doesn't matter how, they're just going to do it. So, number of assets destroyed, rounded up, so they need to destroy 4. Destroy 4. Difficulty 2. Powers Institute. They are the psionics, so what do they want to do? Interesting. They've got a lot of money. I think they want Peaceable Kingdom. Yeah. The Powers Institute is just building its power right here. They just want to sit here. They don't want to launch any attacks for now. They've got a ton of psychics on their side. They've got, you know, ships out getting psychics. They can just level up by sitting here and doing nothing. It works out great for them. Because no one can attack them, so it's not an issue. So we already know the coalition wants to do... Oh, wait, let's do Exchange of Light. What do they want to do? They want to... I think Wealth of Worlds. They want to expand their influence. Wealth of Worlds. Wealth of Worlds means they have to spend fat creds equal to 4 times the faction's wealth rating on bribes and influence. The money is lost, but the goal is considered accomplished. The faction's wealth rating must increase again before this goal is selected. It's difficulty 2. Okay, so the number of fat creds they need to spend is 4 times the wealth rating, so 16 creds. So this is going to represent the Exchange of Light doing humanitarian aid, like getting people to trust them, that kind of stuff. That's very important to them. The coalition wants to defend itself against all outside attacks. They want to stop the AI. They want to stop the Federal Society. I almost wonder if they want to do planetary seizure, but I think instead they're going to try commercial expansion. It isn't really their thing. So we're going to make it their thing. This might be the faction that fails horribly, or they could do super great. So commercial expansion means they need to destroy a number of wealth assets of rival factions equal to its wealth rating, which is 1. So they just have to destroy 1 asset, and they get 1 difficulty. 1 difficulty 1. The difficulty rating, I guess I haven't covered this, determines how much experience points the faction gets for completing that goal. The Remembrance Pact wants inside enemy territory. Everyone is their enemy. They want to place a number of stealth assets on worlds with other planetary governments equal to the cunning score. Units that are already stealth on worlds when this goal is adopted doesn't count. So they need to make new assets. And it's difficulty 2. And go to cunning. So 4 units. They need to buy 4 stealth units. But here's the thing, they're secretive. All of their units start stealth. Again, this works out great for them, and it represents Kashkai and the Remembrance Pact spreading their influence among these 3 worlds. Let's also make sure I get these tags tagged properly before I move too far ahead. Planetary government. No, I think I need to put that down once. I need to consult it, I'll come back. Warlike. D10, they're making a force attack. That's huge. So with technical expertise, they don't actually need a base of influence. Build starship type assets on any world with at least 10,000 occupants. Yeah, they don't actually need a base of influence to make starships at places, I think. Cool. They can just do it. Now, of course, if it's a planetary government restricted thing, they're going to have to pay the extra cost, but I think the eugenics cultists, well, I'm not going to start out with making them, but they might be something they buy in the future. Yeah, there's also Machiavellian, which means it can make more cunning attacks. Which is great, because they are intelligence-based. So they want cunning for now. Mercenary group. All faction assets gain the following special ability. As an action, this asset may move itself to any world within 1 hex. And so the way this works, I think, is that during a faction turn, a faction can take only 1 type of action, but all of its units can take that action. And since all of the actions, all of the units of Racina Outreach Command have this ability, in a single turn, they can move all of their assets to like different places, all 1 step away. This works out great for mercenaries. They can get to wherever they need to do their jobs pretty quickly. You know, in 2 months, they could travel 2 jumps and have like an entire military organization in 2, 3, 4 different directions, depending on the number of units they have. They start with 4, maybe 2 force assets. Anyway, the point is this lets them get around without actually needing starships. So they can send Marines to wherever they need to. Probably on, you know, mercenary hired merchant ships. Yeah. We'll figure out how to do that. Psionic Academy lets them train psychics and interrupt other factions. So I think any faction that is a threat to the Powers Institute, they're probably going to force a reroll. Change console. When the faction successfully completes Peaceable Kingdom, oh, let's see, they may roll a d6. On a 4+, they gain a bonus experience point. Once per turn, the faction can roll an extra d10 when defending against wealth. So I think they're probably going to start with Wealth of Worlds and then move into Peaceable Kingdom as well. I just like Wealth of Worlds a lot. I like the idea of them spreading their influence, and then once they've proven to all the other worlds they can do that now. Let's see. Once per turn, this faction roll an extra die when defending with an asset that requires tech level 0 for purchase. Interesting. Secretive. All factions begin stealth. All right. Okay. So we've got these things. We've got the asset table. Now we need the tracker. So let's see here. Faction tag, goal, they get assets. Minor powers get one asset in their primary attribute and one asset in a different attribute. Okay. So let's look at the list of minor powers. Minor powers are Remembrance Pact, Exchange of Light, Rusina Outreach Command. So Rusina Outreach Command gets 2 assets and they get a base of influence. Exchange of Light gets 2 assets. Exchange of Light, and they get a base of influence. Remembrance Pact. Oh, shit, don't want to do that. Nope, fucked it up. Fucked it up bad. And they're going to get more than 1 base of influence. They're actually going to get 3. 1 for each of the planets they're on. And let's look at... They're not on Ortiz, right? Ortiz is like a death world. They are not part of Remembrance Pact. So they are in 409 on the planet Groa. Look here. 409 on planet Groa. They are on 209 Kashkai. And I assure you guys, you really only have to do this faction turn setup up front, like I'm doing right now. After this, it's a lot faster. You won't have as much stuff to do. But think of it this way. You're basically setting up an entire campaign here up front, and then using these things, which I'll show you later, using these things, you can develop missions pretty easily. Once you have this base down, you can create flexible missions very quickly with deep, rich backstories and ties to your campaign world. And the thing about RPGs is people like to see change. This faction turn will allow you to not just see change, but show the players change in the way things happen. So yeah, might be a little heavy on the talking side up front, but I think once we get into gameplay, we'll see how cool this can be. And this is the planet Thoe. Alright, let's make sure to get all these right. And Jolly is in 306. Probably do this step by step just so I don't miss it. 306 and Jolly. And Rusina Outreach Command is in the Rusina system. 207. And Rusina. Those should be able to go here. And Jolly. Actually, I don't know. They might not be there. But Rusina's units are all going to start there. Okay. Major powers get 2 assets in their primary attribute and 2 assets in different attributes. So major powers are going to be Powers Institute. That's it. So Powers Institute. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they get their base of influence on their own planet. They are based out of 708. Mark I think all their units are going to start there. All right. Major regional hegemons get 4 primary assets and 4 in others. So this is going to be where the big war between the Federal Society and Thorn Thistle is about to get shaped here. So Federal Society, it's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's going to get 4 base of influences, 1 for each planet it currently controls. Four. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and Thorn Thistle gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 4 base of influences as well for the 4 planets it controls. All right. Actually, some of these have more. Yeah, that's a double system. So it gets a 5th. Federal Society has a 5th base of insert. Row below. Oh man, 7. Use tonight. Let's base of influence. Boom. Oops. Didn't work. Now let's try this base of influence. Federal Society. No, I'm not getting all that stuff. All right, weed it out. Okay, let's insert, remove row. How do I go 30? Insert row below. Try this again. Federal Society, base of influence. Why isn't it doing this? And I'm up here. These have anything in them? Why would? Okay, we're gonna just. Not working out too great. All right. So they have 306 and Jolly and Valgard. There we go. Bannon. 505 is Bannon. Not Banna. None. 407 Sampras. .406 Albin Bagheri. Okay. The AI doesn't have any double systems. Koro. Cool. 204 Phaistos. .304 Pereira. 205 Demetriades. Demetriades. There we go. 206 Eschapolos. Okay, cool. And on Racina Outreach Command, they have 4 force. They get 1 force asset and then 1 other asset. Their job is to destroy force assets of rivals equal to the forces. So they need to, no matter what they get, they need to be attacking force assets. So they can get a strike fleet. A strike fleet isn't great, but it's okay. And that's going to be their primary. They have a strike fleet of mercenaries currently located in... Oh, you know what? I gave the system the name. That's okay. I'm going to stick with that for now. I'll probably have to go back and edit it later, but that's for... I can do that off stream. They get one other thing. It's probably going to be in the thing they're not terrible at. So they need wealth, asset that can attack force. That is 3 or less. There is no 3 or less wealth to... Oh, that's cunning. Okay. Do wealth. Wealth versus force. Called Union Toughs. Excellent. That's versus other people's force rating. Interesting. Okay, so maybe not that. They want wealth versus wealth, maybe. Lawyers. Lawyer special forces. I like the idea of them having, like... It's not really lawyers. It's military advisors. That also know planetary law pretty well. So they have the lawyer's asset. So let's figure out, before I make any mistakes, how this works exactly. Using the attack action. Action assets. A successful attack can damage or destroy an enemy asset or even damage the leadership and cohesion. Attacks are launched against no. To launch an attack, attacker selects 1 or more of its own assets and targets a rival faction with assets on the same world. 1 at a time, each attacking asset is matched against a defending asset chosen by the defender. The attacking asset can attack only once per turn, though a defending asset can defend as many times as they want. Once matched, an attacker rolls a d10 and adds a relevant attribute. For example, a military attack might add the attribute's force rating. Cyber ninjas. The defender then rolls a d10 and adds the attribute to that attack. For instance, for a military unit, the attack might be against force. Interesting. The defender then rolls a d10 and adds that attribute to the attack of targets. Force against force. Causing the defender to add their force rating to their roll while defending against cyber ninjas. So let's just double check. Cyber ninjas are probably cunning for cunning, right? Yeah, cyber ninjas are cunning and cunning. So they choose an asset to defend with, but they don't use that asset's particular skill. They use their faction skill. Attacking. Which attribute to add. Okay, cool. So these guys want to send their units up. Oh, these are cunning versus wealth. That's not good. They want wealth versus something. I'm looking at the wrong thing. They don't want lawyers. They do not want lawyers. They want wealth versus force. Who would they be attacking? Oh, maybe they're up against the exchange of light. Well, whatever it is, they definitely want to attack where the people are weak. And they want to do a lot of damage. Let's look at surveyors. What do they do? Friend surveyor crew allows one additional. Nope, not that. Let's look at what else they can pick up. Post tech